guess one BP board member who's also an MI6 agent. Did you overthrow the government of Azerbaijan? He said, what do you think we're paid to do? That was the official comment. Now, bribery is a serious business. And Lord Brown, I was told I wanted to prove the allegations of bribery, which are against the law in the United States. It's a felony crime to bribe foreign officials. And I got someone who said that Lord Brown had paid an $84 million bribe to a president of the Caspian Sea, that in Kazakhstan. So it turns out it's a CIA agent who's now worth nearly $1 billion because he uses information with his work in the CIA as an oil analyst to find the Caspian Sea reserves. Got his hands on it, sold it to BP, got a $100 million check from him. However, they're supposed to give him $300 million. So they stole $200 million from the guy, so he's in a bad mood. He only got $100 million. And he said to me, BP bribes. I met the CIA agent in a safe house in New York. I said, under British law, I can't just say, you said that BP pays bribes. What do you mean BP pays bribes? He said, if I say that on TV, I'll get my keister suit off. Man, what am I looking for here? Yeah. I said, you have to have some type of proof. Well, he's BP's partner in the Caspian Sea. So he said, yeah, there's proof. They sent me an invoice for the bribe. There it is. They actually sent him an invoice for the bribe. This 15% share. That's how it works. Now, let's see what else I do. So yeah, BP's the bad guy, right? I'm told, Chevron actually got on the American equivalent to BBC called Petroleum Broadcast System, PBS, and they and said it's BP's culture. Chevron wouldn't do such a thing. So Newsnight sent me to the Amazon to check it out. I take I'm told that there will be a boat waiting for me to go into the Amazon to this Indian village to determine whether there's oil all over the place. I'm told there'll be a boat waiting for me. So I take a Jeep into the middle of the jungle, and I'm waiting for like the African Queen to come down and pick me up, but it turned out this guy in this Jeep in the middle of the jungle in this rainforest, that's raining. By the way, if you're a member of Greenpeace, I know it's a rainforest, but if you actually go there, it's a jungle. And I want to thank Greenpeace for its poetry. Said Subarco, your boat, which was basically, it was just a dugout log tied to a tree. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is, white guy floating face down in the Amazon. So some guy came out, it was like a bad jungle movie. A guy comes out of the rainforest and says, okay, I'll take you. And off we go. And yeah, I find kids with pustules on their body, toxins, which I recognize as oil from my other investigations, oil poisoning. You just take a stick and stick it in the water. I talked to Chief Emerhildo Criollo. I said, okay, Chief, you know anyone who's actually died? He said, well, anyone hurt. He said, my 3-year-old son went swimming in water and cold. He didn't know that it could be dangerous. Came up vomiting blood and died. His older son didn't have it so good. He died slowly of childhood leukemia, traced back to oil toxins. So I went to Chevron Corporation's executives, and I said, they said, oh, and you'll see them in the film. There's me in the book, but you'll also see them in the film. They said, no one's ever proved that oil causes cancer. Okay, and if you could never prove that it's our oil. And I said, well, maybe that's because of this. This is a letter from the Presidente de la Junta of Chevron's Texaco unit. And it's in Spanish, but even in my Teresa Spanish, I can understand where it says, all documents have to be removed from principal offices and from the countryside offices, y ser destruidos. Documents are to be destroyed. Maybe that's why there's no evidence. By the way, destruction of evidence is a go to jail crime. If you didn't know the jail. Now, by the way, today you could check out Guardian USA on an article at the Euro about the success of the Euro, which is successful, very successful. You know, I was a student of Milton Friedman and worked with Friedman at the University of Chicago. You read about it in the book. I was actually undercover for the Communist Party and the Steelworkers Union to get inside. I worked with Friedman, I worked with Bob Mundell, who is the father of that little bastard of the Euro. He's the guy who conceived it, got the Nobel Prize for it, and is working. Mundell told me, I had long conversations with him about the Europa, as he originally called it. He said, this is the only way to bring down the welfare state. He's thrilled right now. 25% unemployment is just the beginning, because that's what they call creative destruction. This was the plan. If anyone thinks that this was just a mistake and things have gone wrong, do not understand. I've not been where I've been, at least when the Europa was conceived. This was the plan. You have no choice. You're going to lose your pensions. You're going to lose, and he said, we're going to take away from the politicians, meaning elected officials, the ability to save the country during a crisis through monetary or fiscal policy. The only thing left would be a competition to reduce wages and remove labor unions. He was very concerned because he not only got the Nobel Prize, but he got a villa in Italy where they wouldn't let him put a toilet in. And so he says, I can't get a toilet in. So it was probably why he was in such a bad mood. And he said, you know, can you imagine? I said, no, I can't imagine, because I don't have a villa in Italy, so I don't know anything about, you know, commode transfers. But he wanted, the whole point is to remove regulation. So the Europa is not a mistake. It's the plan. And what it is really is a crime scene. Okay? What happened was that both governments, the socialist and right-wing government of the pseudo-fascist governments of Greece, cut a deal with Goldman Sachs, which used foreign currency derivative trades to hide a deficit, which was necessary to be part of the Europa, the Euro. Goldman Sachs got a $500 million fee for running this con. Now, in the old days, I used to be an investigator, a racketeering and fraud investigator for the U.S. government. We used to, for this type of shit, we used to read people their rights and march them off to high security prison for a long time. But these guys got a $500 million fee instead. When the deficits were exposed, of course, the loan sharks demanded loan shark interest, demanded their pound of flesh. And Greece now, just the added default insurance on their bonds is costing the average Greek family allocated $11,000 per year. No nation can withstand that. That's a crime, okay? It has nothing to do with lazy, ouzo, swilling, olive pit, spinning Greeks who retire at the age of 18 and work 12 minutes a day, okay? They work longer hours than Germans, that's no trick. It's a crime scene. But where did the crime begin? How come, it used to be illegal to run these types of derivative swaps. So what the hell happened here? Well, it may be this, okay? I got this document. I'm not supposed to show it to you. It's confidential. So pretend I didn't. Anyway, it's, in the book we call it the Magna Carta of Globalization. And it begins, as we enter the end game. Who's playing the end game? This is a confidential memo from Tim Geithner, who's now the U.S. Secretary of Treasury, to Larry Summers, who was also a U.S. Secretary of Treasury. This is part of the scheme. I showed this, before I showed this, I met with the head of the WTO, Pascal Lamy, He says, we are not a, Monsieur Palast, we are not a group of some evil cabal of bankers in some cigar smoke-fueled room. Yeah, there's no cigars. I said, here's this. This is a list of a private meeting of the top bankers in America. Citibank, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, JP Morgan. And it's a note from Geithner to Summers saying, we're going to go ahead with the plan. This is the end game. What's the plan? The plan was to use, no one had thought it was quite devious and brilliant, use the weapon of trade to require that once the U.S. had deregulated its banking markets and Britain couldn't wait for its big bang to blow its head off, how do you get the entire world to deregulate its banks all at once? The answer is you have them sign on to a WTO protocol or else. And every nation caved in. Ecuador tried to resist and they said, well, eat your own bananas, monkeys. Only Brazil said no. And Brazil is now not allowed to send its main product to the U.S., ethanol. They wanted to bring Brazil to its knees, but they couldn't. And only Brazil, in Western capital culture, has survived and thrived because their trading derivatives is the crime it should be. I mean, it's still a crime, it's just that it's been decriminalized here. So Greece is a crime scene, and that was the beginning evidence of the crime. Now,